Hey, yeah, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and today we're going to talk about the coronavirus, the deadly new virus, and gold. So, hey, unless you've been living under a rock for the last couple months and never listened to the news, you'll know that there's been this deadly virus called a coronavirus that's been sweeping through China and spreading also to the rest of the world slowly but surely. It's infected like 75,000 people in China and resulted in more than 2,000 deaths. The problem is that it's very contagious, and it's kind of deadly for a certain percentage of the people that get it. Now in China, it seems like the numbers are a little bit decreasing, that maybe a few more people are not getting the virus every day and a few less people are dying from it. But it's still awful early to say that, oh yeah, we've got this one licked now. A lot of the experts are looking at the numbers and saying it's just too early to tell. And a lot of the experts don't really trust completely the numbers that are coming out of the Chinese government. There's no question that there's going to be a big drag on the world economy caused by all the effects of this virus. I mean, literally, there are 50 million people in China that are quarantined because of this virus, so to stop it from spreading, and factories have shut down. Of course, people aren't out, so they aren't buying stuff. There's travelers that aren't traveling, and you think, well, this is China, it won't affect the US or other nations. Well, you know, there's a lot of travelers that come from China. China is the world's second largest economy, and you know, those travelers aren't traveling. The airlines aren't going to China. They're stopped their Chinese flights, and it won't be a while before everything picks up again and the economy resumes. Because of all these shutdowns, it's starting to take a real toll, and in fact, Apple announced yesterday that they weren't going to come near meeting their quarterly quota numbers that they'd said they'd expected to meet as far as sales. And today, an airline that's a Chinese airline announced that it may well be in bankruptcy for loss of flights and business. Now yesterday, the stock market plummeted downward on the news of Apple not making its sales forecast. But today, hey, tomorrow? Or yesterday? What yesterday? We don't remember yesterday. And so today the stock market's forgotten all about yesterday, and they're rocketing upward to new highs. Literally, they're setting records for new highs. Throughout all of this, the price of gold has been rocketing upward on fear that this really contagious virus that's killing a lot of people is going to spread and become a worldwide pandemic. Now, like I said, the numbers out of China seem to be showing that maybe the infection rate of this disease is slowing a little bit and things are getting a little better. And China has announced that a lot of the factories are reopening. So with factories reopening and schools reopening and quarantines ending, you know, are we going to see the disease reignite and get going again and spreading through the country, through China and elsewhere? We're going to find out soon. I mean, there's been 50 million people that have been locked up for weeks in quarantine, and they want out. There seem to be two possibilities for what's going to happen with this coronavirus once the quarantines end and people start spreading out around again. The first is if the Chinese government has underestimated the contagiousness of this disease and the ability of the disease to kind of be latent and not show in any forms before it erupts and spreads. It turns out that a lot of people get this disease and really don't show a lot of symptoms. I've read a number of reports where people are saying that, yeah, I had the disease, but all I had was a minor cough. And other people, you know, get much more serious symptoms, get pneumonia, and, you know, may end up dying. So the intensity of the disease ranges a lot from different people. And so I think a lot of the reason that this disease has spread so fast is because there are people who have it and may show very few symptoms and then become contagious and other people get it and of course show much worse symptoms. You know, coronaviruses are really not any big new thing. This particular strain is new, but the concept of coronavirus type diseases, it's not something new. Actually, a coronavirus, they say, is responsible for about a third of the things that get diagnosed as common colds. So your common cold, a third of the time it's a coronavirus. So it's not a new thing. And like I say, some people, you know, like you think about getting a cold, you know, you may not show that many symptoms, but you're still contagious. And this version, this strain, is apparently pretty darn contagious for a corona type virus. So if the Chinese government has misestimated or underestimated the potential problem with this disease, when the quarantines get opened back up, there's going to be a new wave of stuff spreading around. We might see that happen. A lot of experts are saying it's way too early to basically say that, yep, we got this thing licked and, you know, no problem, don't worry. That's the thing that the stock market is doing. The stock market is saying, yep, we got it licked. We're going to start rocketing up again. No problem. Don't worry about it. Yeah, well, don't worry about it, nothing to see here is probably not the greatest approach to this disease. Some of you might not know, but there was a cruise ship, a Holland America ship, that was apparently exposed to the disease in China, and it was going around in the ocean, and a number of countries, it wanted to dock, you know, and let people out and stuff, and a number of countries told this ship, hey, no, we ain't taking you. You got to move on. And for a while it was like they couldn't get any place to dock. Well, finally, after doing some preliminary testing that showed that everybody was clean and there were no people on the boat with the virus, the country of Cambodia decided to let them into one of their ports. And because the preliminary tests had shown nobody was sick, well, then they just let everybody off the ship, right? No problem. And people got off the ship, and some of them went into Cambodia to continue their vacation. Some of them went to other countries nearby to continue their vacation. And guess what? Yesterday, it was announced that one of the people from the ship has now tested positive for the new coronavirus. This means that there are hundreds and hundreds of people that were in contact with the person who was sick, who is now diagnosed as being sick, that have now spread through Cambodia and all the other nations around there. This could be another big wave of the disease getting out. You know, Cambodia does not have the world's most awesome medical technology and medical health system. And it seems like, you know, the worst part of this disease was in China, in places where they may not have the world's greatest healthcare system. And Cambodia is probably a step down from even the remoter parts of China. So it's hard to say what's going to happen with this disease. We're going to find out soon. Just today, the country of Iran has announced that 2 people were diagnosed as having the disease and have now died. Nobody really knows how the Iranians that have died were, you know, contracting the disease. It probably was something that either they met with people from China or were in China themselves. That none of that's been announced, so it's not known how they might have contracted it. But here's a couple more people in a country where it could be spreading around. And like I say, this disease is surprisingly contagious. That's the problem. A number of experts and academicians and government officials, a number of people who have a lot of experts in this topic are saying, hey, don't discount this thing. The worst is yet to come. If this thing really does blow up into a full worldwide pandemic that spreads across all these countries, it's going to be really bad. And the price of gold will skyrocket. because gold is basically a security trade, a fear trade. When people are afraid, they want to lock down and be safe, and gold is the thing that they usually buy to lock in that security. So the danger of a real worldwide pandemic from this new coronavirus is still very real. It's way too early to be counting this thing as over and done, and we've beaten this thing and it's over. Now, I mentioned that there were two possibilities, and the other one is that, hey, we really do have this new coronavirus licked. And yeah, while there may be minor outbreaks here and there, nothing really big. We're not going to get any big worldwide pandemic that, little spot fires will start here and there, and we'll tamp them down. And, in 6 months or a year, this new coronavirus will be basically extinct, except for maybe some samples in a lab or something. So, that's the other option. Still, even if that is true, there's going to be some very significant economic effects that come out of all the quarantines and loss of business that were caused by this virus, the deaths. I mean, significant impacts from people no longer with us. So, even if we've got it licked, there's still going to be significant impacts. But, once it seems licked and we have a better handle on this, and it looks like we really have gotten it damped down and taken care of, you got to expect that the stock market's going to be rocketing back up. And will it be that the price of gold, of all those people that locked into gold for the security of it, that gold prices are going to tumble? I don't think so. There were a lot of problems that caused gold to be rocketing upward before anybody ever heard of this coronavirus. I mean, this last summer and through the fall and in recent months, even before the virus really became a worldwide scare, gold was still going up. People were looking to gold for security, and like I say, there were plenty of reasons for gold to go up that had nothing to do with any coronavirus. The truth is that because of the impacts that we are going to have that have already taken place, like Apple announcing that they're not going to meet their sales forecasts, China has already said that it's going to pump a bunch of money into the system to help businesses that were impacted by this, help them, continue their growth and that sort of thing. And similar things are going to happen with other countries around the world that are also going to be pumping money into the system to deal with the effects of this virus. And that's just the problem. You see, it's the countries that are pumping this government money into the system that's causing the problem. You see, governments can just press a button and bingo, you have 10 billion or 100 billion dollars in your account. Just shows up. And believe me, that happens. There are companies that will buy government bonds, U.S., but other ones too, and then the Federal Bank of the United States will say, okay, we're going to buy those bonds from you, and they press a button and they credit your account with billions of dollars, and the ownership of the bonds goes to the Fed. Well, if the Fed owns government bonds and buys government bonds, that's basically one arm of the government saying, here's money to spend that isn't really based on anything. It's just we pressed a button and now you have money to spend. The global economy is in not the world's greatest shape. I mean, it's fragile enough already, and countries all over have been putting that money, that government, button press money into the system for years just to keep their country's economies afloat. The reason gold is going up is because gold is real money. It's not something that somebody can just press a button and bingo, billions of dollars go out into the system. No, gold isn't like that. It's hard to find and hard work to get and hard work to extract out of the ground. Gold is really valuable because it's rare, it's beautiful, and it lasts. It can be taken with you easily enough. And that's why people have always treasured gold. And so gold is real money. The world economy has become addicted to the drug of this government stimulation money. And through thousands of years, governments all over, as soon as there's no real tie from money to any actual thing, and they can just manufacture money at will, it's always been a temptation to governments to do this more and more and more. Some countries, like Germany did in the years before Hitler, they manufactured so many marks and so much money that the mark became worthless. It would cost 10 million marks just to send a postcard. Literally, people would take money and it was cheaper to take the money and burn it in your furnace than to put firewood in there. It's just a temptation that eventually governments, get tempted by this, that they need to produce more and more money. And like I say, it's like a drug where you need a little more drug in order to get the same effect every time. And the next time you need a little more, and the next time more and more. And pretty soon it just gets out of hand. The point that we're at right now is not the out of hand phase. The point that we're at now is that the world economy, the patient, is addicted to the drug. And there's no solution for getting the patient off the drug. You're just going to have to keep giving him more and more and more drug. And the politicians, the easy answer is to keep printing money, keep making money, keep pushing buttons and crediting people with billions of dollars. Well, pretty soon it's going to be push the button and credit people with trillions of dollars, and then quadrillions and pentillions and heptillions and more and more and more and more until, well, things just get really crazy. And gold is the answer to this. I mean, literally, the people who have gold, when the money supply gets really nuts in the coming years, those folks are going to be in a lot better shape. And that's why you need to have some gold in part of your investment portfolio. Now, I'm not an investment advisor, and this is not investment advice. This is just my personal opinion. It's just what I think is the truth. So, take it with a grain of salt, but this is what I believe. And that's that gold is real money. Okay? And really, you should have some gold. Now, you can go out and buy gold. Yep, no problem. It's out there on the market. Or you can go out and find it for yourself. That's what I do. I go out and find my own gold. It's out there to be had. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you're just going to walk out there and pick up $10,000 worth of gold, first hour out there looking for it, because a lot of people have come and gone before you doing the same thing. It's a skill that you need to know and understand, and it's work. It's not easy. But if you want to get that skill, if you want to gain that skill of being able to find your own gold out in the field, out in the hills and the deserts and the streams and the rivers, well, I wrote a book about that will help you learn what you need to know to find your own gold. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now. So let me tell you a little bit more about my book. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I wrote it because I want you to be able to go out and find for yourself Fistful of Gold. And you can see that it's an encyclopedia with all kinds of information, pictures, and that sort of thing. It's not in color, but color would have cost me a lot more to have printed, and so the book would have cost a lot more. It's for sale on Amazon, and you can pick it up. I'll put a link in the description below. I also serve as the editor for a prospecting magazine. It's ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. And honestly, you should check that out. We got stories and information, legal stuff, everything you know to increase your skills as a prospector. I write articles in this every month, and a lot of other very experienced prospectors contribute to the magazine as well. So check the magazine out. Also, I have a website, and the website is at NevadaOutbackGems.com. I'll put a link for it in the description below, but there's gobs of information there that you will find useful in your prospecting efforts. Finally, I want to say that I really appreciate your comments and thoughts, and even positive criticism. Don't come on there and just toss out insults because I'll just delete your comments. But if you've got helpful things to say and questions to ask, do write and put those in the comments, because I answer my comments to people, and you'll hear from me in responding to you. So if you've enjoyed this video and you like what you see and you're interested in finding out more, well then sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so they'll let you know when I post new videos. And like it and share it if again you see stuff that you really are excited about. And I'll be coming out with lots more new videos, and so we'll see you again real soon.